There's a new trend I'm starting to see kick off in 1 week, making people crazy sales, and everyone's just doing it one way right now, but it has application for so many different niches. And what is this trend? It is hidden saying mugs, but this pattern could be applied, number one, to a bunch of different products. I can see this doing really well for tumblers, as well as mugs, as well as tote bags, so many different options. But right now, because again, this has just started showing up this week, is typically just on mugs right now. We have this one, a hidden swear message mug. It was listed less than a month ago, but FREEBIES picking up no sales, meaning I believe that this truly was launched this week. 3 people bought it in the last 24 hours and it's already a bestseller. We have this one here, the same saying on a mug, listed less than a month ago. And if we take a look at this, 10 people bought this in the last 24 hours. And using my FREEBIES extension here, I can see that this has sold 277 times in the last 30 days, with the first sale being about 3 weeks ago. We have this one, again, the same saying, different font. This one listed less than a month ago, already a bestseller. And this one here. So I'm not saying it's a good idea to make another mug with this saying. It's been done, it's selling for people, but this is so early that it hasn't been used to create different variations for different niches with different sayings. If you've been on Etsy lately, there has been a lot of subtle messaging in t-shirts, in mugs, not just with this pattern, but this subtle type of message is something not new to Etsy. This is just the new trend and way that it is showing up. And because of that, I know other sayings are going to do really well with this type of style. So let's quickly create our own. And to do that, we're going to be using Kittl. But before we get started creating our design, I do want to grab the right file size. So going into Printify, who is going to be my supplier for these mugs, I've gone and picked the accent mug because I see that doing well for other people. And then under the side here where you see print area size, we see 2,475 pixels by 1,155 pixels. So moving over, we're going to create a file size to that size. So coming into Kittl, I hit open a new artboard or a new project, and then we have different artboard sizes, and you can go to print on demand, and there is a lot of already set templates, but because I'm doing the accent mug, which actually isn't this exact sizing, I'm just going to type in the sizing up here. So we have the 2,475 by the 1,155, and we're going to hit create. And then you want to create a text box and put in this subtle messaging that you want to put in. So for me, I grabbed something that was doing really well on t-shirts. It was this saying I could be meaner. And you want to pick a font that is going to not really have any serifs on it. It's not going to be a fancy font. We want it to be as symmetrical as possible. So the one that I selected here was just the one that automatically comes up right away, which is Roboto Bold. But you can go ahead. There's tons of different fonts that you can select in here. Things like Tricot. Not really actually a fan of this one for this, but through the ones that I've looked through, I actually just like this Roboto one because it's very evenly spaced. And then we're going to turn it on the side and we're just going to bring it to 90. You can hold shift so that it goes to the closest 90 degrees or it locks onto different degrees so that you know that this is actually straight. And then I'm actually just going to make this a little bit smaller because we have to accommodate for the print area. We might see that with Printify, we're not quite able to print up all the way to the top. So I'm going to save it like that. And now we need to start creating a pattern. So you're going to select your I could be meaner and you're going to copy and paste that. I'm doing it with my keyboard, Command C, Command V, and you're not going to see it pop up because it pops up lined up with the original, which is perfect. And you're going to right click and then we're going to go to flip horizontal. And now I can use my cursor or I can use my keys on my board to line these up as closely as possible. There we go. I think that looks great. And now we have this kind of looking pattern here, but it's going to look more like a pattern once we start duplicating it. So what I'm going to do to ensure that this design is as even as possible is I'm actually going to save this file right now, and I'm going to save it as a transparent background. So remove background. I'm going to hit download, and then I'm going to bring that file back in. Now you can probably remove the original text you had. The other option is you can just duplicate this a bunch of times, but your file is going to get chunky. And then with this spacing, it becomes an issue later. And I'll show you why. So the easiest way is to get this as a PNG file and start with that. But not necessary if you want to eyeball all of the spacing. I'm going to crop this to be the right size, and then we are going to bring this back out. And now I can just copy and paste this a bunch across my board here, and I can be as messy as I would like because we're going to use a tool to make sure that this is lined up, patterned equally, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my cursor over all of these, and then under alignment here, you're going to hit tidy. So this is all the way to your left over here under alignment. We're going to hit tidy. And now every one of these elements is equally spaced so that our pattern is symmetrical around. And I'm just going to bring this over, and there we go. Now I'm going to save this file all together as a transparent background PNG, hit download here, and then we're going to go back to Printify. So when I was doing research for these, I did find the ones that I liked the most and the ones that were selling the most were on the accent mugs. But if you prefer a different mug, again, this could do well on so many different products, tumblers. This could do well on tote bags, anything that looks good with a pattern, but would also look good with a subtle message in there. And now scrolling down, I'm going to use district photo for this. And then we are going to hit upload and bring in our file. And now this was perfectly fit to this. You might, depending on how big your message is and how much room you left at the edges, you might have to make them a little bit smaller just because you don't really want things that are important that are outside on this gray area because they might be cut off. So I just make sure that everything that's important, which in this case is the pattern, is within the white area here. And we can take a look at the preview to see how these are going to turn out. And now we have our own subtle mug design. The This design previously actually didn't have the mirror design because with a lot of the letters, they actually looked really good lined up together, but not every message is going to kind of line up in that same way. So by mirroring these and creating this pattern here, you can do any text that you would like to still create this pattern-like design. Again, this is not something where you should be trying to compete with that mug that's already doing well for so many people. They have the upper hand. It's their original design. But you can see what's doing well in trends. And the way to really make sales is to find ways to tailor trends to apply to new niches, new people, add it to new products to help yourself be set apart from your competition. So get creative, and I cannot wait to see what you guys create. And if you would like a further breakdown of how I use Kittl and a full Kittl tutorial so you can master this design platform, I will link that video up next. And thank you guys. I will see you next week.